this is weird that it's the last one. Even when I was making my little, that little thing that says, next week's, I had to put on it last Creativity Live Chat instead of next week's. It's very strange. Anyways, I'm going to start. I don't think that this one's going to be a super long one, but I'm going to start now just in case. But this is really about, as I put a little Instagram story up just now, and this last conversation really is about the future, but it's also about taking everything we've talked about, passing it through the conduit of the present, and just seeing what future lies ahead, creating whatever future it is that you want for yourself out of what it is that you do or you are going to do, and who you are going to be in the matter of what you do and what you want to create. Hairy Man 100, Ryan and George have joined. Welcome. So yeah, I was just having a bit of Wi-Fi issues, but I think that I have figured it out. So I think that all there is to say really is to recap what I think are the key points for moving forward. Like what's really important in realizing your creative goals. Jorge, how's it going? So I'm going to start from there, basically. And I just made a list of a few things that I think about what's relevant to me in my creative life, in my working week. And these are some of the things. These are some of the challenges that I've faced along the way, and things that I feel like have come up consistently in our conversations. So the place to start is on the topic of starting, and starting is hard. And the thing that I've noticed as well for myself, and maybe you guys feel the same way, is that it doesn't matter how long in the business you've been, making that first move to start something is always so challenging. And so by reminding yourself of that when it comes to whatever's next for you, it just makes it so much easier, because instead of going, oh my God, this is so hard, I'll do something else, you can just think, oh yeah, it's always hard. That's never going to change. When you've got this blank canvas of the entirety of everything possible that you could create, it becomes almost unfathomable. So if you remind yourself of that when you go into anything, then it just becomes a breeze, because you know that starting is hard, but once you get going, you get momentum, and there might be some hiccups along the way, but ultimately you will get to where you want to get to, or if you don't, you'll pick up lessons along the way to be able to achieve it ultimately, or you might see that you want something else in the process of doing it. But do you know what I mean? The point is that starting is hard, and as soon as you remind yourself of that whenever you go to start something, and I'm not even talking about just creative endeavors, actually, that's the thing for life, like starting anything. Even I'm just thinking, because this house is newly decorated, like if you just think about just painting a room, you just think, oh, I don't even know where to begin. You've got to move the furniture, you've got to do all the cutting in, and then at some point it's done. So everything is possible, and it all involves, every single project that has succeeded has one thing in common: they were started, and starting is never easy. So as long as you remind yourself of that, winner chicken dinner. All right, let me say some hellos. Ollie, hi. Paul, DJ Fitz, Steve, and Bill. Hiya, Bill. Welcome. So, the next thing. So, starting is hard. Procrastination. We've talked about it a couple of times. Did we have a whole topic on procrastination? I can't even remember. Anyways, point is, it happens, and catch yourself in the act. And let me tell you something that I've noticed about procrastination is that sometimes that it can take lots of different forms. Sometimes I've been busy thinking I'm doing something when actually what I'm doing is a form of procrastination. Sometimes planning is important, but over planning can start to veer into the domain of procrastination. Even when I was, there was a point when I was writing the book where I was getting really over involved in minute details. that was a form of procrastination, because I was putting off getting this whole thing down. So the only thing I can say, the best way I can say it, should I say, is stalk yourself. Watch yourself, be your own stalker. Observe when you are getting caught up in the long grass, because sometimes you'll think, no, it's not that. I'm planning, or I'm thinking things through, or I'm not ready. But when I'm ready to, no, I'm very busy now. All these sorts of things can look like they're effective, that they're useful, and they're not. They're holding you back in their procrastination. So stalk yourself. Make sure that you are not getting caught in the long grass, because that will get in the way of you achieving what it is that you really want to achieve. Mark Perky 63 and Robert McAvoy 52 have joined. Hi. So we talked about starting, talked about procrastination. Then the other important thing is the starting place. So knowing where to start. And I think one of the most important things, and again, this is something that we covered and has come up several times over the course of the year and a half that we've been having this conversation, is that it's not about the doing. It's not like the doing should be what comes out of seeing where it is you want to go. It's like if you were trying to get somewhere, you wouldn't just walk out of the house and just start walking. You know where you want to get to, and you have a destination in mind. So that applies also to your creative endeavors, is have a destination in mind. What is it that you ultimately want? And usually that comes out of that is born out of a purpose or a dream or something like that. Like, I want to see amazing sci-fi stories being told with people from diverse backgrounds. It could be whatever it is. I want to support my community and becoming a safer place. Whatever the sort of motivation is, come from there, and then the doings will become much more apparent. Too often people sort of get involved in, and I've done this myself too, is I'm going to do this, and now I'm going to do that, and you get involved in doing, and not all of it is in service of ultimately where you want to go, but you haven't thought about where you want to go to know what to do to get there. Terdikulavizali, hello, and Nicholas, Chaos Neil Nicholas has joined. Hi. So knowing what it is that you want to achieve, what do you want out of your creative life, and obviously you can set a goal or a dream, and then you can change it once you've started out. But at least having a destination in mind. Like sometimes. I've been for a run and I think I'm going to go a particular route and I have that in mind. But then I think, I've got a bit more energy, I'll go a bit further. So it's all right to change course once you're out, because then you've got a better idea of whether this fits, whether this makes sense to you. But have some destination in mind, because otherwise you're just pew, like energies, and you're wasting energy as well, actually, because it's just firing off in all directions, but with no real coherent sort of, direction for it, basically. Andy, hi. So the thing that I realised as well, because people talk about what are your dreams and setting your dreams and have big dreams, blah 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 blah, all this sort of stuff about dreams, and we've had that conversation as well. But what's your goal? What's your dreams? But one thing I realised is that the person you are today is not the one that can fulfill on those dreams. You have to go through a series of incidents and life situations and events to grow into the person who can realise whatever dream or goal, or whatever dream, let's call it dream, because dreams are bigger, I think, than goals. But and more ephemeral sort of thing. They're less they're less material sort of thing. They're sort of like clouds, nebulous, but real. Same as clouds are real, but you can't put it in a box or whatever. And so what was I saying? So who you need to become to realize a dream is the person who goes through all these other little life challenges, obstacles, blah, 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 blah. And the way to navigate all that and grow is to set smaller goals. So the person who navigates themselves through a set of smaller goals that will ultimately lead them to their final destination of their bigger dream, because as they go through that, they grow as a person, they learn more about who they are and what they want, and how to achieve it, and just on a sort of a practical level, they'll acquire skills required to, if somebody says they want to win an Oscar, when they, arrive at drama school, yes, that's a great dream, but you're unlikely, unless you're Lupita Nyong'o, you're unlikely to, achieve that immediately. You're going to have to go through some stuff. So set big dreams, but work towards small goals. That's what I wrote down. And by focusing on the smaller goals and less on the big dream, knowing that it's there in the background, you will ultimately get there. And also by remembering to make sure that every piece of the puzzle, every step that you take is in service of that bigger dream. So it's very easy sometimes for people to get distracted and get caught up in other things, that it's like, oh, well, this was fun. And that's great. It's great to have fun in your creative life, and if it fits, and because there could be some other riches that you gain from doing that. But at the end of the day, if there's a place you want to get to, then are these distractions supporting you? And because if you're going to find yourself in a place of frustration because you're not, because that's where I got to before I started working with a coach. If you find yourself frustrated, then there won't be any point in getting yourself involved in those other sort of side pursuits. Stick to the plan. Yeah. And also planning was a part of that was something that we talked about quite a bit along the way, and I wholeheartedly stand by the fact that you should plan. And it's not about the plan, it's about being in the mode of planning, because I think it was I was on a sort of a person, like a well-being course or whatever, and the facilitator was talking about the fact that plans, he was talking in the context of the military, and it's not that the plans are the goal, it's to be in that mode of planning, be in that mode of thinking so that you're prepared. So the enemy might not be doing what you expect them to do, but you've thought through the permutations, and so you're prepared for whatever they might throw your way. For whatever they might throw your way. And so in life, you want to start to have a bit of a plan too. For your creative life, it's a dance between winging it and planning. You don't want to plan your shit out of existence, basically, but you also don't want to wing it so much that life is coming at you as this onslaught that you're just not prepared for, and that you're constantly firefighting. So it's a balance between dancing with life and being in a state of plannedness. I've planned, if that makes sense. Hey to the people that have joined, Lazy Eye, Jamie Dewhurst, yes, and Afrocenter Sabi. Hi. No, I mean Afrocentrica, sorry, Sabi. All right, so working towards the smaller goals. Yes, oh, right, working smart. This was another conversation that we had, I think quite early on, where we were talking about this whole thing about how sometimes there's a lot of narrative online in terms of motivational speaking and stuff like that that's about working hard, putting in the hours, and I agree, that is absolutely bang on. But equally, I think the thing to embrace is working smart. So it's almost like working in a very concentrated way, in the most efficient way that gets the job done for you. So this constant grind of constant 15-hour days, 6 days a week, that is not maintainable, because something will get compromised as a result of you doing that. Probably, most likely, your mental or physical well-being, or both. So that's not sustainable. However, working intensively, like on a project by project basis, and the definition of project can be your own choosing. But finding efficient ways to work is, I say, especially in the freelance domain, the best way to go. Like, I was talking to my agent who's had 2 children and managed to keep a business ticking over, and managing staff, dealing with clients, creating new business contacts, all the rest of it. And she's done that and found a way to balance that with motherhood. And the way she does it is she works smart. She's almost having to train the people that she interacts with how to interact with her so that she can achieve what she needs to achieve. And part of working smart is about how you communicate, how you apportion your time during your working day, how you balance work and life, your work commitments, your life commitments, because then work will feel satisfying. When there's that, juicy balance between the two and you don't feel anywhere is compromised, then you're working smart. And also that you're rested in all of that. I put a little line, work smart and then rest. Because that's the bit that often people miss out, and they're going for it hell for leather, and then the next thing, they're exhausted because they are not making room for rest. Rest is as important as the work itself. You think about music. What would music be without the rests? Anyone who's studied music or had to learn an instrument or read music, you have to have the rest. That's what gives work its meaning, is having rest in between. Nothing has meaning if there's no space in between it. Most of what is material in our lives is just space. You think about the relative distance between the center of an atom and the nucleus, or whatever it is, neutron, is the equivalent of a kilometer, relative to their size. Everything needs space in between it, including us in terms of our work life. Okay, so let me just go back. There's a couple of comments. I think I've caught most comments. William says, no plan survives first contact with the enemy. I mean, Bill, I have no military experience, but I believe you. It's like, I think of tennis matches and sporting games where, the players or whatever will have, spent hours like studying what their opponent's going to do, what their form is like, what their tendencies and habits are like on the pitch or on the court. They don't necessarily do that on the day, and so that's the sort of thing, but they were prepared. And so they're prepared, and those that are best prepared are the ones that are prepared for the change as well. When the opponent goes, I'm going to do this, or I've been working on my backhand, how do you feel about that? Or whatever. So, William says, fail to plan, plan to fail. Yes. And Afrocentrica Savvy says, how about working at home? How about it? Yeah. Now, this is a really great question, because everyone has a different experience of what working from home is like. Some people find it very easy. Some people find it hard because of distractions. Some people find it hard because there are no distractions. And so they just keep going and keep going and keep going. Look at where you feel there is a breakdown in terms of, if there is a breakdown in terms of how you are at home. If you feel like I work too many hours because I'm at home, then you need to start putting in place a plan whereby you take rests. You take regular breaks throughout the day. I don't know what type of work it is that you would be doing, but you take regular breaks during the day. If you can do something physical, what I found really, really beneficial for me is I work for an hour and a half. I'm writing, so I'll be at a computer, which is very sedentary. So I'll work for an hour and a half. I'll take a half hour break, and I'll try and do something physical, a little bit of housework, or I've just moved place, so I'm unpacking boxes, something that gets me away from a screen. Or I might cook a little bit, or go for a walk, or just anything to get me away from the computer. And I've started to get really strict about that. Like, no, I just do this little bit of, I'll just go on Instagram, I'll just and the next thing you know, your break is over and you've spent that, on screen time, and then you go back to writing. This is my situation anyways. If you, on the other hand, your problem is distractions, you might need to find a place in your home that is specifically for work. Nobody else in that space. This is my workspace. If your problem is you're not putting in enough hours, again, the hour and a half, depending on what you're doing, an hour and a half is a manageable amount of time where you don't feel like, this is like some sort of atrocious task that will never be over, and it means, and you can give yourself a little Instagram treat at the end of it, or whatever, and a break. Again. But you make sure that all the hour and a half, no matter how chronic it is, You just do work. You don't get on Facebook. You don't be checking emails unless that's part of the work that you're doing. You know, you stay strictly on the work. If it's appropriate or necessary, make the time shorter. Just make it a time that you can own. Even if it's 45 minutes, do 45 minutes, 50-minute rest. 45-minute, 50-minute rest. 45, and then take a lunch break and then start again and do, you know what I mean? Make a thing that you can own, because structure is what gives what makes discipline so much easier, because then you don't have to think about it. You've already committed to this structure. I work out my working week at, the week before. So I'll literally go through every single day and go, right, I'm going to go to the gym, 9:30 till 11, and then I'll have shower and breakfast till 12, and then I'll meditate, and then I'll, start writing at 1:30, and, blah, blah, blah. And I'll work through the entire day, and I do that for every single day of the week. And then I'll go back and I'll look and I'll go, okay, I've got 5 hours of writing that day. When I add it all up, what can I get done in those 5 hours? Right, I've got 6 hours the next day. And then I'll know what I can achieve in that week. And then you'll know whether you won. And I know that's to some people that's going to be like, why would I do that? But that is how, over the course of this last however many months, I've been able to commit to writing deadlines for my book. Because I've been able to, because I've been, really disciplined in terms of breaking down my working day. And it's hard when you're working at home because there's biscuits, and there's tea, and there's all the kinds of things that we go, hey Andy, come and have this instead of like doing your work. So having that framework really makes it easier to just stick to it. It's a no-brainer now. I've already figured it out and I've committed to what I figured out. And obviously, it's a plan, so I respond to change. If something happens and I need to respond to that, an audition comes in or something, then I'll change the plan, but only changing it based on the change, the new thing that's coming in, being in service of the greater goal. If it isn't, the plan stays. I hope that's helpful. It's a really great question. That's why I sort of said a little bit more about it. I know, Amelia says, I'm loving this chat. Awesome. And Afrocentrica gives a thumbs up. Anel says, I'm terrible at taking rewards away from myself if I don't meet my own deadlines. I convince myself not to be too hard on myself. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's a kind of, that relationship isn't going to help, because you're in a taskmaster, punishment cycle. So you want to get yourself out of that. Also, what you want to do is make the deadlines achievable. Because if they're your own deadlines, why make them unachievable? So I am quite generous with my deadlines, because I pretty much consistently make deadlines that I can hit. I'm not overly generous, but I'm pretty generous, so that I don't feel any sense of pressure, because it's my deadline. I was the one that told the publishers when I would be able to deliver the book. It wasn't like they were saying, right, by this time. However, they have said if I don't deliver it by this time, I won't make a certain publishing date. So now we between us come up with the deadline. But my point is if you are creating your own deadlines, be kind to yourself. Keep regular ones so that you can track your progress. Don't have, in 2 years' time, I will blah, 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 because then, you'll procrastinate for it. Not you, I know, but we all will procrastinate for 18 months and then suddenly have a 6-month panic. So have regular deadlines along the way. Make them achievable, because, why not back yourself for the win? Hey, Kate. H. Wyman, hello. Patrick, what's up? Nikki, hey. Amber, hi. So just recapping on moving forward, where to go from here. We talked about procrastination, how getting started is hard, how one needs to have big dreams, but work towards small goals along the way. And Afrocentrica asked about working from home. We were just talking about discipline around that. So what else? What else is you're going to want in your knapsack moving forward? Well, failure. Remembering what failure is. And I had a recent, don't to put failure in your knapsack, that's what it sounded like I was saying. I had a thought recently that who that the first attempt was supposed to work. It's so funny that we've got ourselves into this sort of strange belief, unquestioned belief, that the first attempt should be a success, and if it isn't, it's a failure. And I mean, I've used smoking as an example before, and just for anyone who hasn't heard, me talk about that, it's just basically that I used to smoke for a long time, made several attempts, 20, 30 attempts to stop, sometimes, lasting an afternoon, sometimes months, I think a year or two once. Anyways, point is who's to say that I don't think it is motivational books. I think it's us. I think we want to believe that, first attempt should be the success, and anything after that, anything that isn't that is wrong, but sometimes it takes a couple of run-ups, to get something right or to achieve something. Sometimes those first initial run-ups are practice. But because we've got ourselves into this idea that it's supposed to work out and that anything that isn't that is a failure, we kind of almost set ourselves up. So just know that failure is a part and parcel of the game, and while it stings a little when things don't work out, don't forget the riches that come with these so-called failures. What one learns about what it is that you are doing, or what you learn about your field. Nicholas says, I'm definitely working without goals. I'm working on my 4th show, but no idea why or if it's what I want to do. What type of show are we talking about? I'm trying to get to your profile, but I don't know how to do that. Oh, that lets me press it, but it doesn't do anything. Yes, talk to me about what type of show. Yeah, I mean, definitely you want to know where you're heading. Unless you're so blissfully enjoying working without goals. And I'm not saying that to be facetious. I really mean that. If you really are sort of really content with just letting things unfold, then there is no need for goals. This again is an idea that we've been fed, probably in this case, Patrick, it is from sort of self-help and motivational books. But if everything's cool, then don't change anything. However, if you feel like something is out of whack, something's out of balance, something's missing, then yes, you need to look at what you actually want. Where is this all going? Because that's when the deeper part of you will be satisfied, satiated by what you're doing. Otherwise, what you're doing is just doings. And we're human beings, not human doings, as so many people say. And so you want to get into this state where what you're doing is in service of who you're being, rather than, just doings everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so Patrick says, so we need to learn to fail better then. Yeah, maybe. Or maybe just be cool with the failure. Be cool with the fact that not everyone, not everything is going to work out. And just like Sarah Millican, I remember her saying that she has a rule that if she has a bad show, she gives herself to 11 o'clock the following day. I think that's what she said, 11 o'clock the following day, to be pissed off about it, and then she lets it go. And I think that's a brilliant strategy, because it means that because what you don't want to do is suppress emotions, but you want to give them the appropriate context. So yeah, that pissed me off. Or I'm pissed off that didn't work out, or I'm depressed that didn't work out, or I feel like, it's never going to work. And then 11 o'clock, or whatever it is, whatever your 11 o'clock is, let it go. You start again, you look at the plans, see what needs to be done now, and proceed from there. Because nobody said the first attempt would work. That's just an idea. Kate says, bit late to the party, Andy. I have a project. I have to get a short film made by November. I have a great idea, but don't know how to storyboard or anything. Help! Okay, so I was going to come to this, but now is as good a time as any. So, Kate, this is the perfect example of a project that is going to be difficult to get started and wants to be birthed. And you might need to start pooling resources that you have, because I know a little of your career background, so I know that you know people that can help you with that. I would start with getting a DP on board and not making it all on you, because one of the things that I was going to say is to make sure that you have the resources that you need to achieve what you want to achieve. And in your case, Kate, one of them is going to be to have partnership, because as soon as you have partnership, it's not your own burden. I don't know what your short film is about, but if you find partnership with people who are passionate about whatever the topic is, then the burden will be less than halved, because you're going to be vibing with somebody who cares about this thing as much as you do. Storyboards can be really simple as well, like literally can be stick people. If you've got a good DP, they can interpret stick people drawings. I know that we're used to seeing like really beautifully drawn like storyboards. If you can pay for someone to do that, then that's really great. Or if storyboard artist wants to get some experience, they might want to work with you. But actually, what the storyboard is a way of letting your DP know what you want. You can communicate that any way you want. You could write it in text. You could do stick people drawings. You could take screen grabs off the internet, and piece them together to tell the story that you want to tell. You could cut like a little video together to make a little, like almost like mood board or whatever, to show the style of what you want to, how you want to shoot. I don't know if it's a narrative or a documentary. So there's ways around the storyboard. The story, not every film needs a storyboard. What every film needs is the director to communicate to the DP what it is they want, and you can find another way to do that if storyboarding isn't going to work for you, or you can't access somebody that can help you. And just work through partnership. I'm just rereading your what you've written. I think you need to have if you're going to direct it, you need like a producing partner, or to work closely with a DP right from now. Get somebody on board early doors, because you need a load of skill sets to be, expertise skill sets to advise you. And there is always people who are in the early stages of their careers who might want to get involved, or people who are very experienced, who just think, I want to try something different, or I want to help, or I'm into this topic. So the next thing I was going to say, and this is a perfect introduction to it, is about resources. Find the resources you need. It doesn't all have to come from you. And some of us have a leaning towards trying to do everything ourselves. And the joy of creativity really is when you share your passion with somebody else. Devonay said, and I've said this many times, she said, if your dream doesn't involve other people, it's not big enough. So Kate, the task ahead, I guess, is enrolling other people in your passion for this short film, so that they come on board and are as passionate about it and help you realize it. Carly says, sometimes, like with you, I've met friends during the day. I have some relationships where it's expected that I'll make myself available in the day because I have no one to answer to. It creates problems. Yeah, that is very difficult, isn't it? It's like, you have to, that again, I keep using the word dance, but it is a dance with, I can make a little bit of space for this person. I don't want to be so rigid, like, no, I am working. This is my 90 minutes of work, so I cannot speak to you. If things like that come up, what I'll do is I'll shave a little bit off a break later and make a bit of space for whatever it is that came up during, whichever social thing came up during the day, or thing that sort of knocked my plan out of whack. But it is a challenge, and you have to listen to yourself and listen to ultimately what's important, because as much as you do want to get your shit done, what's the point if you've got no friends left because you've been so rigid about how you're navigating life? You've got to have somebody to share it with, right? Because otherwise, or people to share it with. Otherwise, what's the point? Creating structure in my day. So Carly says, I mean friends I see a lot expecting me to move my day around. I'm bad with boundaries. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, that's tricky. But I think the answer is that you have to sort of find a way to put your foot down. And it is hard, actually. I'm not saying that lightly, because I know that sometimes to other people it might not make sense, because they're like, what are you talking about? You're just in your studio. You can just stop any time. Stop now for me. Come out and have lunch or whatever. And I have a similar thing in the sense of sometimes when I say I'm writing, I almost think that people are hearing, so you're not busy. And my family and stuff, and people who know me and know what I'm going through with this book, know that I know what that means. I know what she's up to. But people who don't know me so well might just think, oh, she's not busy. So yeah, one has to sort of really be clear, kindly clear with people when the boundary is important. Sometimes it isn't. Sometimes you can let it slide, and you've got to sort of navigate each situation as it occurs. Nick. Hey, Alex, I think it is. Final call, yeah? Carly says, I need to be responsible for that, set boundaries and not worry about reactions. My work and vision is important and needs me to respect it. Absolutely. And that's it, isn't it? That's the key, is that ultimately, when you don't hit a target or a goal you set yourself because you got pulled into like socializing or something like that, that's not going to satisfy you. You can train in the same way that I was talking about my agent. You can train people to know how to interact with you. And that is the key to real sort of maturity, actually, is gently training people to know how to treat you. Because whatever we allow is how we're training other people to treat us. In a broader sense, that's what social interaction is. Because whatever you accept from people that doesn't quite sit right with you, but you don't do anything about. Now I'm talking beyond, just our creative lives. I'm talking about life just generally. Whatever you allow is what people will think is acceptable, appropriate. So God, these cats, they just jump up and then suddenly they're there. I've got these 4 cats. They're not mine, but they're always in the... oh, look at this guy. I've got to show you this. He just appears. And I don't know if you can see him. There he is. He just appears and then he just buggers off. He doesn't want to socialise at all. Doesn't like me, but he just wants to terrify me. Anyway... So how we allow people to interact with us is basically us training them to how to treat us a particular way. And the moment that we say, no, I'm really sorry, that's not going to work for me, the moment they change. And they might be like, oh, to begin with. And if that's their attitude, then unfortunately that might mean that, and they can't let that go, that might tell you a little bit about where the friendship really is at. But people go, shit, my bad, I'm so sorry. New training. Patrick says sizzle reel. Absolutely, sizzle reel in relation to Kate. Yes, Kate, that is something you can do. And I'm guessing you've got some editing skills, so you could pull some video. And sizzle reels, by the way, can be very rough and ready. This is just a private offline thing to show a DP to give them an idea of what you're looking for. Ollie Curtis UK is a DP, by the way, Kate. If you want to, Ollie, welcome back. If you want to, catch up with him, maybe he could give you a bit of advice as to how to move forward. Jonas, hi, and Kate says, good advice, taken on board, on the lookout for a DP. Thanks. Well, like I say, Ollie Curtis, here he is. Yeah. Carly says, true, and nice garden. Yeah, thanks. What's a DP? Director of photography. In America, I think they call them DPs. I think in the UK, they call them DOPs, Directors of Photography. They're basically responsible for the look of whatever the director is shooting, so be it a film, documentary, whatever. They are sort of creatively responsible for the look. They might not necessarily always operate the camera, but they are responsible for creating the look of the piece. Would that be a correct description, Ollie Curtis UK? All right, so what else? Oh, by the way, remember the thing I said that Tony Robbins said about resources? People usually don't lack resources, they lack resourcefulness. They forget the things that they have access to. I was having a conversation with a friend recently, and he is having some difficulties in terms of financial, basically, and I said to him, I realized in the course of the conversation that his big heart is one of his resources. The fact that he's kind and caring, it may not seem like a resource and it may not be monetizable in a direct way, but actually that sensitivity will feed his work. He's a creative, and so that sensitivity will feed his work. And so what I'm really getting at is the fact that there is an abstract way of looking at the idea of resources and what resources you have access to. So Kate, you might have more resources just within you than you would imagine, but also in your network of people, because you might not know a cinematographer. Well, you do now, Ollie Curtis, but you might know somebody who knows somebody. And so those are the sorts of resources that once you start thinking outside the box, you will suddenly realise that your goals are actually a little bit easier than you thought, and that you have to stick your neck out and start approaching people and asking for people, and be a bit of a disruptor and create things that weren't going to happen anyways, but you have more resources than you think. Even, I don't know why, but ruthlessness came to my mind, because some of the traits that we have that we think are bad traits, must get rid of them. Sometimes they can be a great resource. If you can be a little bit ruthless, say for example, this is just an example about things, that is a resource, because you might be a great person to give somebody give feedback on their work when they're just getting to the point where it's going to be released into the wild. Your ruthlessness might be exactly the sort of feedback that they need. Remember, we were talking about this before, about peer feedback, and those people who are in your field but real talkers, that's a resource that they have, is to be like that, and that's a resource that you have, knowing somebody who's like that. So just really sort of get proper abstract when you're thinking about resources, when you're trying to achieve something, and you'll be surprised at what's actually there. Write it down, because once you start writing something down, inspiration starts to come, and you start to have like random thoughts about, I know so-and-so, or I can do blah, 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 or, oh yeah, I remember that I used to be able to, yeah? So Patrick says, I find that in a weird way playing Minecraft helps with lateral thinking. Yeah, that's a resource in its own right. It's like people in the shower having inspiration or whatever, or, like you say, you can play a computer game, suddenly like ideas start sort of pinging. On that note, you've reminded me of something really important. So important, I've said it 3 times. It's about inspiration. Oftentimes, we wait until we're ready to start something. Wait until we feel like it. Wait until we have all we need to do it. And over the course of this 1.5 years that we've been having this conversation, I've realised that is completely the wrong way around. You start, and inspiration comes once you start. Once you've committed to the act itself, that's when inspiration shows up. And you will be surprised at what you can achieve by starting something that you don't feel like doing, or doing something that you don't feel like doing. You're gonna have to trust me on this one, and just track what happens when you start doing something you don't feel like. Sometimes you're never going to feel like it through the whole thing. Fine, whatever. But a lot of times you're going to find that you sit down looking at a blank page, or some task that you thought you didn't know how to do, and then you start, and suddenly you start getting ideas. Like, on my book, I'm working with somebody who's helping me edit, and she gave me a load of notes. And at first when I saw them, I was like, I don't know how to do this. It's going to pull the book apart, pull it open too much, and it's going to take too much rewriting. And then slowly I worked through each note, and there's probably about 20, 25 notes. And as I'm doing it, I'm getting ideas that aren't just, completing on the note, but actually making the book, obviously the notes are there to make the book better, but actually really finding a really great solution that's something that I wouldn't have thought of adding otherwise if I hadn't have been given this note. But I had to start from a place of, I don't want to do this. But there is a part of you, there is a higher part of you that, or a bigger part of you, however you want to think of it, that knows that starting and doing whatever the thing is more important than making you feel better about not wanting to do it. Because the thing that would satisfy your feeling of not wanting to do it would be not doing it, and therefore nothing would change. I just think that's really important. So, Patrick says, waiting for inspiration is like waiting for it to rain before you have a drink of water. Waiting for it to rain before you have a drink of water. You mean from the tap sort of thing? I mean, yeah, basically, cart before horse or whatever. Getting it the wrong way round. You've got to start. And then inspiration will come. I think that's what you're saying. William says, pounding freed my brain somehow. You're talking about running. If you got stuck, you used to go running. All right. So, okay. Let me just get through this. All right. So the other thing is as well going forward, and this relates to the stalking yourself around the procrastination thing, is knowing yourself, as in know where you excel, know where you falter or fail, and just account for that. Give yourself the best opportunities to win. You know, sometimes we can set ourselves up. We make things harder than they need to be. I.e., like with Arnell was saying about the goals, the deadlines. You know. That his deadlines he wasn't hitting them. It's like, well, if those deadlines are not working, change the deadlines, you know. And so give yourself every opportunity to win. You're the one that's setting the boundaries of your working environment, your working life. So make them achievable. Don't shortchange yourself, but make them so you can win. You know? And don't ever forget this thing about talent versus training. I know that if you take the argument to extreme, yes, some things cannot be achieved through training, whatever. I'm never going to join the NFL or whatever. But, you know, do not underestimate what just consistently working at your craft will do for your creative life. Hey, Mum Life with Tony and Tommy. Hi. I've been watching this BBC reality, I don't know what you call it, reality show, like reality competition, Glow Up, you know, the makeup one. And I'm only 4 episodes in, so no spoilers, guys. But yeah, there was a makeup artist called Paige, and she was one of those people who just wings it. And obviously the program makers have sort of manipulated the story to make that her story through the show, like she's the one that wings it. But what I took away from that is, that to me is the perfect example of what happens when somebody has innate talent or an aptitude for something, but they don't apply themselves. So she would not take their note about preparing and planning. You know, she even said at one point, I don't like to over plan things. And it's just like, well, that is why you failed that task, you know. So never forget, it's the tortoise and the hare. The people with natural aptitude obviously are the hare, and the people who do the training and just put the hours in, plodding. They're the tortoise, and they're the ones that ultimately will succeed. Because you might all come out of the gate, say you came out of some training program or something at the same level, come out of a training program, and the hare seems to race off because they've got a natural aptitude. But ultimately, if you just keep at it, chances are you'll catch them up, maybe even overtake them, because you've got so much ground underneath you. And sometimes moving fast is not the best way anyways. Sometimes that plodding, methodical, progress is the best way to develop your art, because think of all the riches and goodness that you take in through the course of just slowly moving through those failures. You know, what are they called? Abraham Hicks, talking about how, you know, human beings we got ourselves into this situation where we believe that everything's supposed to be linear. Our path to success is supposed to be linear. They're like, as if there's some things that we need you to see first, but we don't appreciate them because we're like, no, I want to go there. That's crow flies straight. And they're like, no, that's not going to happen. So training, discipline, so important. So, yeah, so discipline, I'm going to include discipline in that. I'm just looking at the time because I know I've got 6 minutes left. Might be after party. Not a long one, but there might be. Let me see if I can achieve this in the next 6 minutes. Some people, and again, I've heard this through Tony Robbins, but I think this is a well-known little sort of bit of info, is that a lot of people overestimate what they can achieve in a year, but underestimate what they can achieve in 5. And so that sort of methodical plodding on, sometimes that's the way to achieve something, is because, you know, if you keep chipping away at something, you keep training at something for 5 years, who you are, not just what you can do, but who you are is a different person at the end of that 5 years. So things to remember. I'm just going to blast through these. These are just little thoughts that came to me as I was putting this last conversation together. Things to take forward into your creative life, whatever that might look like, whatever you go on to do. Ideas that come to you, they're just looking for a home. And if you're the home, then let them come through you. But don't feel a way about having to let some go. You're the space through which they can come. You're not the source of them. They're coming through you. So don't feel a way if you have to let some ideas go. You should die, as an artist, you should die with ideas still circulating. You know, you're never going to work through them all because there will be so many, because you'll be such a clear, good conduit for them. It won't be easy. This game is not easy, because if it was, everyone would be doing it. You know that. But you didn't choose this path because it's easy. You chose it because it's rewarding and fulfilling. Creativity is the universe's heart expressing itself. So remember that, especially when it gets hard and you're dealing with rejections and all the rest of it. Remember that your creativity is the universe's heart expressing itself. Remember that all things are possible. No matter what people are saying, somebody's done it already. Whatever you're trying to do or thinking is impossible, someone has done it. Probably with less resources, you know, from a wheelchair, or, you know, with no, you think of, you know, when you see people who've got no money who just find a way to express themselves creatively. It can be done. So disavow yourself of this idea that what you're trying to do is impossible. It is possible. Self-talk is not real. The conversation that's going on in your head that is not supporting you or your goals is not real. It's a made-up mechanism that happens inside your brain. It's mechanical, and it is not bad or good. It just is, and it is not something that you need to tune into. A lot of what happens in this industry is not personal. Basically, some things will seem personal because somebody used your name, someone's talking to you, at you, but it's not personal. It's about probably what's going on with them or what's happening generally in the industry. It's not about you. And the less you can take things personally, the further and faster you will go. Any situation can be transformed. You know, it doesn't matter what things look like. Things can be turned around. Don't accept a loss unless it's over for you. When people say no, oftentimes it's a no for now. Just park whatever that is you're working on, let the next creative idea come through, and just dust yourself up. Give yourself your 11 o'clock and then move on. And finally, I don't know who was there when we had this realization about how the journey is the destination. Life wants you to journey. And so it gives you these almost carrots to say, come do this. Come and do this thing. Come and try and be an artist. Come and try and make it as an artist. Those are the carrots that life is putting in front of you to make you take the journey. But what life wants from you is not to get anywhere particularly. That's cool. That's a byproduct though. What life wants from you is to journey. So just journey well. Let everything that's meant to happen. Take the lessons from it and just be as big-hearted and open and mature and grounded through it all as you can be. That's it, guys. That's the end of the live chats. Thank you so much to everyone that has been on these conversations. I particularly want to shout out some folks. I just realized I've got a bit more time than I thought because I started a little bit later, didn't I? Because I was having some internet problems. So let me just, I've written some names down, but forgive me if I miss anyone out. But particularly I want to mention Carly, and Steve as well, who have been with me pretty much from the beginning and have been so supportive and encouraging especially at the beginning when I doubted myself, and just had lovely messages from Carly, who would, share on her Instagram story that telling people to tune in. So Carly and Steve, thank you so much. Tom, Lisa and Paul, Tom C, Lisa and Paul, thank you for always being there and just giving me lovely feedback and just telling me how it was affecting you. Thank you to everyone that's messaged me, by the way. Tonya, Rasmus, these aren't people that messaged me necessarily, but who've tuned in. Asha, Bill, Donald, Pat, Ian, Amber, who's here, Martha, George, I see you. I know, thank you for joining today. And Kate, Ollie, Joaquin, Marie, Gwyneth, Rasmus, Tonya, Eduardo, Smalls, Billy, Rob, I had to write them all down. Honourable mentions to Shlomo, Rose, Williams and Nonso, Anozi, who, dropped in every now and again. Phil, Tom C and Anya, thank you for helping me with posts on Instagram. Is that everyone? Have I said everyone? Amber, yay, Amber. Asha, thank you. Listen, guys, it's been such a blessing to be able to have this conversation with you guys. I've appreciated it so much, so much, like you wouldn't believe, and it's fed my creative life, and I hope that, it's fed you guys too. And I honestly want this to be something that what we created over this last 18 months is something you can surf and just carry you through the next 18 months of your creative life, and that you can create whatever it is that your heart desires, because it is all possible and it's all there for you to be able to achieve. So listen, Carly says, you've been brilliant and my standards are high. She's a ruthless one. No, at times Carly has been the thing that's kept me going and made me believe in myself. So thank you for everything you've said along the way to kind of support me in that. I know, Amber, I can't believe I can't believe it either. I know, says great live stream, Andy, thank you. Bill says wish I'd known about them before. Bill says Patrick says, wait, is this the finale? It is, but they're all on YouTube. So all these conversations that I kept them all, they're all on YouTube, and I wanted them there just to be a resource for people. If there's and that's what I wanted to add as well. If you feel like you're a bit stuck around something, or you just want to be thinking about something, a particular topic in a different way, then there are a ton of these conversations. There's 50 of them, and they're all on YouTube. And what I'm going to do also is I'm going to put them on a highlight on my Instagram profile, so that it's even easier to get to them. So whichever way you want to access them, they're there for you guys and whoever wants to use them as a resource. I know, I can't believe it's the end either. Carly says, you could lead courses. I'd love to lead courses about this, because I'm thinking, I don't have expertise in a lot of things, but this, I feel like I'm passionate. I don't know about expertise, but certainly I'm passionate. I want creatives to have a conversation that elevates what's possible, rather than there's a lot of conversation around the mundane and the practical, or people telling them in their own even social networks what's not possible. So I just want to be a little to tell you it's all possible, it's all doable, you got this. Amber says, definitely go back and watch them, totally worth it. George says, good luck to everyone in the future. Right, so now I'm getting the countdown. I almost don't want to go. Carly says, you should, you're a natural. Thank you, Carly, thank you. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I can't even express to you how utterly grateful I am for you guys just showing up week after week and just supporting me being here through this, keeping the conversation alive, taking what we talked about and applying it, taking on the project. Who am I to ask you guys or even suggest that you guys take on a project? But you guys did it. It's awesome. So listen, as Carly just said, good luck, everyone. And, I'll just see you on the gram, right? I mean, it's goodbye for now. It's au revoir. Anyways, take care. Have a lovely rest of your Sunday evening. And I'll see you on the gram very soon. Lots of love, everyone. Bye.